All right, well, we're here with Melissa Blackburn, who's the author of the book of poetry called Cameo. And we're very excited to have you at the book festival this year. And one of the things we just discovered, or at least I just discovered, is this is your first book.
This is my first book.
And you said it was 20 years in the making.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about the process of bringing these poems together into the book.
I think I really started writing it when I did my first master's degree thesis about 20 years ago. And it is a collection of family lore and history, and then personal perceptions of what I call civil discord within the family, within the culture. It's a very military family. I was the first girl born in almost 100 years into this lineage, and I got two things as the result of being that first girl. I got these amazing stories that none of these military men wanted to tell. You know, they just didn't talk about history or war. And I got a cameo that had been passed down in the family waiting for a girl. So the book is called Cameo in honor of that. It has some historical characters, some invented characters, and my family, my grandmother and my grandfather.
Can you give us an idea of maybe one or two of the historical characters?
There is a poem in the voice of Mary Custis Lee about the loss of the Lantern House, which is a great story I'd love to tell. But there is a poem in the voice of a man named George Manoa, my stepmother's ancestor who died at Andersonville. And then there's a poem in the voice of a man named John Lewis. What's it right now? John Lewis. Sorry. These aren't famous historical. These two aren't famous. John Lewis Camp, who was my own ancestor, who was imprisoned at Elmira at the same time that my stepmother's ancestor was imprisoned in Andersonville. So those are some of the voices.
What forms of poetry are you using in your book?
Well, that was a shock to me. I edited it for about a year and a half, and I found in my own reading that I loved narrative sonnet sequences, and I didn't think that I was going to go there with this book. But when I started editing it, most of them became sonnets. Loose sonnets, but sonnets.
Great. Well, that's a fun form to write in. You have to be very good at it. I'm sure you are, because it's a tricky form. When you say loose sonnet, just give the audience an idea of what you mean by that.
I mean, my basic goal was to have them be 14 lines, around 10 syllables. But I wasn't rigid about it. They don't have end rhyme, they do have internal rhyme. And what I wanted to do was create a book that you could sit down and read front to back, and that you had a sort of a flow. And I felt like having that form and these fairly short poems would do that for me, and it had done that in books I'd read. And it's worked. I've had several emails from people who said they've read it in one sitting.
Great. Well, that's wonderful. I think it's a fabulous thing to pick up a book of poems that have a narrative sequence in it. It's almost like reading a collection of short stories that have a sort of narrative cohesion to it. So, well, thank you very much for being at the book festival this year. We're delighted to have you, and congratulations on the book. It's a very exciting thing. So we look forward to seeing you on April 16th as well.
Thank you for having me. I'm just delighted.
Wonderful.